Tonight,
we are turning off the tap on Hamas. We are wearing Hamas down.
how Israel is working to cut off supplies making their way to terrorists still hiding out in Gaza. Plus, from American evangelicals to the importance of standing with Israel, Pastor Greg Laurie joins us to discuss how God is moving around the world. And Brown versus the Board of Education.
This being here, this is a monument to the black community and to all of America.
Marking 70 years since the landmark decision to end school segregation. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Some of the fiercest fighting since the war began now underway across Gaza. Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation from our News Bureau in Washington. I'm John Jessup. Well, in the face of international condemnation, Israel is moving forward with operations in Rafah, the last major Hamas stronghold. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calling the battle a critical part of the larger war, and Israel's defense minister announcing that more troops will soon join the fighting. The defiant tone comes as the IDF's military action in Rafah faces a legal challenge in the International Court of Justice. CBN national security correspondent Caitlin Burke joins us now with the latest on the Middle East. Caitlin.
John, before we get to that legal challenge, the IDF announced this afternoon it's recovered the bodies of 3 hostages. All of them murdered by Hamas at the Nova Music Festival. Their bodies then taken into Gaza, where they were found overnight in a tunnel. In a post on X today, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed all hostages will be returned, dead or alive. As the IDF works to do just that, Israel defended its actions in Rafah today at the UN's top court, responding to a legal challenge from South Africa.
This is the last step in the destruction of Gaza and its Palestinian people. It was Rafah that brought South Africa to the court, but it is all Palestinians as a national, ethnical and racial group who need the protection from genocide that the court can order.
Only by bringing down Hamas's military stronghold in Rafah will Palestinians be liberated from the clenched grip of a murderous terrorist regime, and the road to peace and prosperity may finally be paved.
Meanwhile, a major development in Gaza, the U.S.-made floating pier is now operational. It will allow aid to be brought in by ship directly to Gaza. The UN will be in charge of distribution, as officials stress there will be no U.S. boots on the ground. This aid from offshore is considered crucial as deliveries by land continue to be disrupted by the war, terrorism, or hijacking.
The purpose of this temporary pier is to deliver critical humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people. The pier is temporary and not meant to replace land routes into Gaza.
Now, John, according to U.S. officials, hundreds of tons of aid is ready to be delivered via the pier, and as of today, trucks are now starting that process.
All right, CBN national security correspondent Caitlin Burke. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Well, back here in Washington, lawmakers are tackling threats against Jewish students after widespread college campus protests. This month, the House passed a bill that would redefine anti-Semitism under federal law. If approved by the Senate, the measure would expand the definition to include the targeting of the State of Israel conceived as a Jewish collectivity. Supporters say it would provide a reliable framework for the Department of Education to investigate and punish discrimination against Jews. However, critics say the move stifles free speech and conflates anti-Semitism with critics of Israel. This week, more than 1,000 Jewish professors released a statement blasting the bill, saying, quote, criticism of the State of Israel, the Israeli government, policies of the Israeli government, or Zionist ideology is not, in and of itself, anti-Semitic. Earlier today, I spoke with one of those professors. Here's what he had to say. Dr. David Frankfurter joins us now. He is a professor of religion at Boston University. Dr. Frankfurter, thank you for joining us. So this bill that we're talking about embraces the definition of anti-Semitism as laid out by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, a group of 35 member countries, including the United States and Israel. It's my understanding that you do not support this definition. So why do you believe it's flawed?
Yeah, it's flawed because it ties disagreement with Israel's policies, especially what's going on in Gaza, to anti-Semitism. And for those of us who have studied anti-Semitism historically, we have a very different definition. Anti-Semitism historically, and I'm talking about a 2,000-year period, is basically the view that Jews have an innate devotion to world domination, killing children, money manipulation, and killing Christ. That's anti-Semitism. It is an insidious part of especially Christian culture that has motivated the most horrendous crimes, pogroms, the Holocaust. You can imagine, and that image of anti-Semitism, that image of Jews, is bad enough without tying it into Israeli policies. To criticize Israel is essential. Like any powerful America-supported country, we have to be able to criticize Israel.
So we've seen pro-Palestinian demonstrations, including on your campus there at Boston University. How do you, though, draw the line between free speech, including criticizing Israel's policies against anti-Semitism?
I see it as purely an issue of free speech. We've actually had very few rallies on this campus, but I think the real problem that we're encountering here in all these sometimes quite violent protests is a problem with negotiating the anger of many people, non-Jews and Jews, about 35,000 people killed in response to the horrendous acts of October 7th. When there's anger in the streets, people can say stupid things. They can act in violent ways. Other people can feel intimidated. We saw this in the Vietnam period. We saw this in the South Africa divestment period. This is part of social transformation. And I would say also that one of the important things we're seeing here is the separation of Jewish and Zionist commitments. And there's going to be a lot of pain involved in that separation.
David, real quickly here, we only have a few seconds left, but what do you believe lawmakers or schools should be doing to make Jewish students and faculty feel safe?
Making Jewish students and faculty feel safe is a separate issue from free speech. As the New York administrators said in the House committee recently, there are many ways of disciplining both students in mild ways if they're saying stupid things, and faculty if they're saying offensive things. We do not have to make it an issue of anti-Semitism. This is not what anti-Semitism is.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to have to leave it right there. Dr. Frankfurter, thank you so much for your time and your insights tonight.
Great.
Well, to the war now in Ukraine. Leaders there say Ukrainian forces have slowed a major Russian assault on the country's northeast. Last week, Russian troops swept into the region around Kharkiv, overtaking dozens of villages and forcing thousands to evacuate. It was the most serious offensive since Ukraine recaptured the area in 2022. Today, President Volodymyr Zelensky announced the Russian military only made it 6 miles into Ukrainian territory and that the situation is stable. Meanwhile, Moscow claims Kyiv unleashed a massive wave of drone attacks on Russian-controlled Crimea and other regions overnight. Well, here in the United States, deadly storms are slamming parts of the South. Houston has been hit particularly hard with violent wind and rapid flooding, killing at least 4 people. The storms also knocked down trees and power lines, leaving more than 1 million in the dark. Downtown streets are littered with debris and buildings left crumbling under the pressure. Meteorologists say the threat isn't over yet, forecasting the system to move farther southeast this weekend, bringing torrential downpours to Louisiana and Florida. Up next, our exclusive interview with Pastor Greg Laurie with an exhortation and a message of hope for believers around the world. Welcome back. Evangelical. It's a word with which Christians are quite familiar and no doubt will be hearing a lot this election year to highlight different voting demographics. Many associate the term as purely political, linked to conservative ideas. But a new study finds only 2% of evangelical Christians say the word should be defined by political language, while most say it's about sharing the gospel or holding certain theological beliefs. And here with me now is Greg Laurie, pastor of Harvest Christian Fellowship in Washington for the unveiling of the Billy Graham sculpture at the U.S. Capitol. Welcome to you, Pastor Greg.
Thank you,
it's
John.
Always good to see you.
Great to be with you.
So the story we just aired talked about the co-opting of the term evangelical. Are you concerned that the term evangelical carries now political baggage?
Perhaps, but it's interesting, you know, Billy Graham is really the one who coined that phrase. But I do think this, that I think that evangelical believers still is a term that represents us to some degree. And I think we need to really understand what it means to be evangelistic and to share the gospel. That's the most important thing we can do, is share the gospel. That's the only thing that's going to change the culture of America. I believe every Christian should register and vote. I think it's more than a privilege. I think it's a responsibility for the believer to be aware of issues. And I think so many important things are before us with the election ahead in November. But having said that, the secret weapons of the church that are not employed enough are prayer and evangelism, praying for our nation and proclaiming the gospel. That's what people need to hear.
I want to ask you, speaking of these different issues, with so much anti-Israel sentiment today, why is it important for Christians to stand with Israel?
Because the Jewish people are God's chosen people, always have been, always will be. Also, there's a promise given in the book of Genesis where God says to Abraham and his descendants, the Jewish people, I'll bless those that bless you. I'll curse those that curse you. I think one of the reasons, John, God has blessed America is because we have stood as a faithful ally by the nation Israel, and we should continue to do so. It's in our best interest, not to mention the fact that they're the only real democracy there in the Middle East. But listen, God gave to them the land. You know, there's sort of a narrative out there right now. People are saying that, you know, they're colonizers. Actually, the Jewish people are indigenous to the land. This is their land that God gave them, and they're not even occupying most of it. And, you know, back in the days prior to the Holocaust in Germany in the 30s, that anti-Semitism started on their college campuses. And I think a lot of these young people just don't know what they're talking about. Israel's not trying to conquer anybody. They want to live at peace. The fact is, though they've been attacked on multiple occasions since they became a nation in 1948, they've given land back, even though they could have kept it. Right. They just want to live at peace and raise their families. And on October 7th, when they were attacked, and over 1,000 Israelis were butchered and slaughtered and murdered, and unspeakable things were done, and then they predictably retaliated, just like America retaliated after we were attacked at Pearl Harbor and 9/11. When they did that, Hamas, a terrorist organization, part of their strategy is to use human beings as shields. And so, of course, with the retaliation and the response, then we see innocent people tragically being killed in war. And people think, oh, Israel's just trying to control and take over. It's really not what's happening. I had an opportunity to speak at a place called the Museum of Tolerance one day after the attack on October 7th. It was pretty much a Jewish audience. And I said, look, we are here for you. We are standing with you as evangelicals, to use that phrase. And then I said to them, and look, I'm going to be straightforward with you. I am a Gentile, but the reason I love you and I love the Jewish people is because my Messiah, Jesus Christ, changed my life. And so I don't make any bones about the fact or hide the fact that I would love to see our Jewish friends come to believe Jesus as Messiah. But having said that, I want them also to know that we stand with you, we pray for you, and we care about you. And we will stand against this anti-Semitism. And I think more pastors need to be doing this.
We know that this weekend is Pentecost Sunday. There's a movement with churches across California planning to baptize thousands. This is on top of a wave of recent baptisms we've seen from California to the nation's midsection to Florida. All of this, though, is in sharp contrast to what we're seeing in the headlines. Is this a a reminder of the power of what we're called to fix our eyes on?
Yes, I think so. And I think it's a very good indication. And when I see, like, we were able to baptize 4,500 people about 6 months ago at this place called Pirates Cove, where scenes from the Jesus Revolution film were shot and where we used to do the baptisms 50 years ago. And that was the largest baptism in American history. So these are signs of the times, good signs. We always talk about the negative signs. These are good signs and prayerfully and hopefully signs of a revival. We pray that it will be a drop here, a drop there, and then it will begin to drizzle, and then it will begin to rain. God will pour his Spirit out. The only hope to turn our nation around is we need a spiritual awakening. We need another Jesus movement.
I could spend all day with you if you had the time. Pastor Greg Laurie with Harvest Christian Fellowship, thank you so much for being with us today. Coming up, commemorating a watershed moment in U.S. history, the case that transformed American schools. Welcome back. Today marks the 70th anniversary of the landmark U.S. Supreme Court Brown versus Board of Education decision. The case changed public education in America, declaring that separate was not equal and mandating racial desegregation. In the Washington, D.C. suburb of Leesburg, Virginia, the fight for equality in schools began long before the Supreme Court ruling. CBN's Wendy Griffith has this look back.
From 1941 until 1968, this building served as the only high school for black students in Loudoun County, Virginia. 88-year-old Jim Roberts remembers eating lunch in this gym, running down the court in many basketball games, and dancing at the Douglas High School prom.
Was it a fun experience coming to high school here?
Oh, yes, yeah. But I mean, you didn't want to miss school because you got to see friends and you made friends.
And you were on the basketball team.
You was on the basketball team, oh, yeah.
And you said you never missed a prom.
No, never missed a prom. I went to prom all the years.
As a student in the 1950s, Jim didn't see segregation as much of an issue.
How can you miss something if you've never experienced it? That's my take on it.
It was the way it was, right?
This is the way it was. With the kids, we all played together, everything together. The only thing we didn't go to the same church and didn't go to the same school.
Before high school, Jim attended what was known as the Training School for Blacks in Leesburg. The building, which still stands today, was considered unsafe and did not have indoor plumbing. While Jim may have been too young to see the injustice, his mother and many others worked behind the scenes, attempting to make things right. The real story of how Douglas High School came to be can be traced back to the parents and black activists who were determined that their sons and daughters would receive a good education, no matter the cost.
They wanted an accredited high school program, but the white government wouldn't give it to them. So they said, we don't have land for that. So they said, okay, so we're going to buy the land.
In 1938, the group formed the Countywide League, raising $4,000 to buy land for a high school. The county, however, wouldn't let them build on the land unless they owned it, and forced the league to sell them the land for only $1.
They had to give it to the school system for $1 if they were going to have the high school. After the high school was built, which it was, obviously, we're in it right now, there was no furniture. So the black community had to produce the furniture themselves. And that is emblematic of what was going on during the segregated era. So they were provided schools, but they were not equal.
Every day, Barbara passed a school that was beautifully done. It had just been built that was for only white students. And she was forced, living in then a segregated Virginia, to go to a segregated black high school, which required her, every time it rained, to bring an umbrella just to sit in class.
During his address at Regent University's commencement, Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares recalled the story of Barbara Johns, who in 1951 saw the injustice of segregation and did something about it.
This 16-year-old girl got up at a student assembly, and said, if you're tired of this injustice, please leave school now and march with me to the superintendent's office to demand change.
That march led to a group of lawsuits against school districts in Virginia, Kansas, South Carolina, Delaware, and the District of Columbia, which became Brown versus Board of Education.
What you may not realize is over 75% of the plaintiffs in that case were actually those plaintiffs led by Barbara Johns. They were Virginians.
Brown versus Board of Education is one of those landmark Supreme Court decisions that really changed the history in our country forever and for the good. It's important for us to have an appreciation for what that case did for us. You know, I came along well after the schools were desegregated, and I think about what my experience would have been had I not had the opportunity to come to know certain friends that I had.
The justices ruled unanimously in the landmark 1954 Brown decision, and the following year they ruled unanimously again in a follow-up decision, instructing the states to begin desegregating with, quote, all deliberate speed. Still, Loudoun County held out until 1968. The county officially apologized to the Black community in 2020 for not fighting school segregation. Today, the Douglas High School building houses other educational programs and serves as a museum to the original all-Black high school. When giving walking tours of Douglas, Roberts says he's always asked the same question.
What was here before? What was here before? So this being here, this is a monument to the Black community and to all of America, the struggles that we went through.
Roberts, who would join the Navy after high school and work at a number of jobs throughout his life, says that while we've come a long way in race relations, it's only faith in God that will see you through.
The thing that I think of when I read my Bible, and I see it through all the way through the Bible from Genesis, is the word truth. Truth will prevail. Regardless, it might take a while to do it, but the truth will prevail.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News, Leesburg, Virginia.
Finally tonight, a Missouri cafe is serving up a unique opportunity for people with disabilities. It's called Good People Cafe, staffed by people living with Down syndrome or autism. Joey Schneider, who manages the cafe, says it provides a chance for those who might have struggled to find employment elsewhere. Schneider hopes the cafe fosters a sense of self-worth. And with that, thank you so much for watching Faith Nation. We hope to see you next time. Have a great weekend.